JFD, just fair and direct.
Okay, hello and good morning everyone. Welcome to JFD Traders Espresso with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today's the 29th of October 2020. So yep, welcome everyone. Welcome to this Thursday's morning session where we're going to have a very quick look at the markets, a few of the charts, basically the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest and we can continue. Okay, so now then, also just before we jump into the charts, as always, a quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos. And of course, our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we also update on a daily basis. So yep, feel free to visit us here on jfdbank.com and click on the research tab right there on the top. And I believe you can find some useful information here, guys. So yep, feel free to visit us. Now, jumping into the charts. Now, the first one I want to pick up here is Nikkei 225. Now, I would say it's a little bit annoying. Now, again, on one hand, everything's kind of working out nicely to the plan that I was talking about previously with where I was seeing this a nice rising wedge pattern, which of course tends to break to the downside according to all the TA rules. And at the moment, I mean, it seems to be doing that. However, every single time it just opens up with a gap to the downside, and then that gap gets filled. And the same story here is, like, I mean, with this candle, today's candle, the index closed in slightly in the negative territory, initially opening with a larger decline, but yep, it quickly kind of filled up the gap and traveled back up. However, it still remains now below this 23,382 territory, and of course below the 21-day EMA as well. So that's why for now, basically, yes, I'm continuing to target the downside. The only thing is that I'm also kind of mentioning to you guys that also keep your eyes on the European and the US equity markets, because if those gonna continue, let's say, sliding, excuse me, if those are going to continue sliding, then the cash index on Nikkei will also continue to drift lower, and we might see ourselves a nice maybe opening gap again to the downside. However, given that this we did kind of strongly fill this gap, which was quite a decent one, I would say, then of course, like I said, depending on the situation today, let's say if the European and the US markets take a pause in declining, or I would say they remain unchanged, then maybe tomorrow on Nikkei we could have ourselves also maybe a little opening gap here, but it would still be within this candle, within this today's candle, and maybe somewhere here it could open up here. But again, that's just a bit of speculation, I would say. Of course, let's keep an eye on this one when it's open. But if it travels somehow back above this 23,382 territory, yes, we could start looking at some maybe higher areas. Maybe at the same time the price would be placed above the 21-day EMA as well. First of all, also what I wanted to get rid of course, is this this pattern here, this rising wedge pattern. We'll keep it in the back of our heads because, yeah, we'll continue targeting the downside. But now, from the very short-term perspective, now let me just, it's in the way a little bit. There we go. So from the very short-term perspective, I'm going to draw this downside line right here, which is taken from the high of the 21st of October. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a bit of a tentative line. However, it could come in nicely here. For example, if we do get a pop above this 23,382 territory, and then maybe we could also see a push above this downside line. And if so, then yes, we could start looking at some upside again. But at the moment, guys, let's put it this way, let's keep it probably simple. So as long as this little short-term downside line remains intact, then there is a good chance for this one to drift further south. And also, like I said, if it continues to trade below this 23,382 territory and this 21-day EMA, then yes, all this kind of could still apply downwards pressure on this index. Jumping into Shanghai Composite, now this one is trading slightly in the positive territory. It did push higher here, and you can see that it failed to remain above the 3,280 zone. The index is already closed, so it also failed to move above the 21-day EMA. So all this is kind of giving us an indication that basically there could still be some more downside to come, and that's why I'm targeting this upside support line taken from the low of the 19th of March, and then I'll take it from there. But at the moment, basically, if the price continues to struggle to overcome the 21-day EMA, the 3,280 zone, then yep, another slide here could be possible. In order to aim for some higher levels, a push above the 3,326 territory here would be required. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index, and this one, as you can see, still is moving. It's still open for another I think another 15 minutes. So yep, we'll continue monitoring this, and but so far it's everything's looking quite bad here. The fact that the index is now trading below this upside support line taken from the low of the 29th of September, but in addition to that, it's also trading below this hurdle that I talked about before, the 24,556 territory right here. Initially, yeah, we were above it, but now we're back below it. And now, of course, I mean, all this kind of is painting a bit of a negative picture. And yes, if we stay below this 24,556 zone, then another slide here could be possible towards the 24,102 zone right here, marked by the low of the 15th of October. In order to consider the upside, now first of all, I'll get rid of this upside line, no longer valid, but this other downside line is still intact. So if we want to aim for some higher levels, wait for a break of that above that downside line, and then maybe also just an extra push above this the current highest point of October near the 24,970 zone, or actually maybe it's going to be now the highest point of October, because we only have one trading day left, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just quickly double check the economic calendar, because no, that's fine. I mean, it's open tomorrow. So yeah, probably that's going to end up being the highest point of October. But if that level gets broken in November, for example, then yes, higher levels here could be met. But again, for now, guys, be very careful. For now, we're leaning a little bit more to the downside, especially if the price remains below this 24,556 zone. If it climbs above it, this little territory right here will be somewhat of a neutral one for me. German DAX. The German DAX, had a terrible day yesterday. I mean, it was the biggest loser among the European indices, and well, I think FTSE MIB also came very close to that. So FTSE MIB also was in the digits of 4%. So yep, I mean, first of all, everything kind of worked out nicely here for me. I was saying to you guys in the morning yesterday that my next target is this area right here, this 11,575 territory. As you can see, it kind of pushed further south below it, and yep, that's where it ended. It ended even below that hurdle. So for now, looking at the cash index, we can see that there's a bit of a rebound, a bit of a correction. Now, if by any chance this index kind of travels back above this area, I mean, it could, yes, go for a bit of a correction here. However, still remain very careful, guys, here, because I think that the downside is not hasn't seen the end of it. And if we look at the weekly candle, you can see how sharp it has fallen here. On the weekly candle, it has also fallen below the 200-day EMA. Now, of course, it will be quite interesting to see if this weekly candle will remain below this 200-day EMA here, shown as the black line. Because if it does, then, well, I mean, look at last time what happened with the with this index falling below the 200-day EMA and staying below this 200-day EMA. That's probably the more important thing here. The index then ended up sliding heavily here to the downside, and we remember this this slide, of course. But again, like I said, for now you can keep an eye on this one, keep an eye on this weekly candle of the German DAX, but also, of course, let's see how this is going to play out, because if by any chance this gets pushed back above that 200-day EMA and we see the weekly candle closing above this 200-day EMA, then maybe not all is lost here for the bulls. Then we'll just have ourselves a nice false breakout, and then maybe the bulls could jump in here and drive this one higher. But at the moment, we cannot really talk about the upside unless it's a little small correction. Jumping into another index, and that's quickly the dollar index, and look at this beautiful move. I mean, I talked about this a lot yesterday in my morning video and my trader and my evening video, and the break happened of this downside line, and this downside line is taken from the high of the 23rd of March. So as I said, the break happened, the index remained above it, and today you can see that yes, we did drift lower a little bit, but it rebounded from this downside line. It acted as a nice trampoline here, and the index is now at least trying to make its way excuse me, to the upside. Now, however, in order to be on the safe side, I would prefer to wait for a push above this 93.90 zone, because again, it might travel higher here. If it could fail to overcome this area and then reverse back down, and basically maybe we could be saying then the beginning of a possible range here. But at the moment, yeah, it's a little bit tricky. So in a way, you could still, for example, here you could still try to target this level, the 93.90 zone, and then yep, of course. But if you're looking for some maybe for more medium term, then wait for a confirmation break above this barrier first, above this 93.90 level. And then yes, we could start looking at some higher levels, but then yep, there's a bunch of nice levels to keep an eye on. But again, some confirmation breaks are needed, and in particular, push above this 93.90 level is required. So, but from the very short-term perspective, there is a good chance for this one to drift towards that 93.90 level, especially if it remains above this downside line and the 21-day EMA. Now, in terms of the downside, if you want to look at some lower levels, then probably wait for a violation of this short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 21st of October. And then yes, we could consider lower areas here again, especially if the price drops below the 93 territory right here. So again, there's a bunch of interesting levels, but for now we're a little bit more on the positive side. Okay, so now jumping into Brent oil. So here, of course, the strength in the US dollar is kind of pushing this commodity a little bit to the downside. But Brent oil is at a very interesting spot right now. It's near this key support zone, which is was previously the lowest point of October, but yesterday we did overshoot it by just a fraction. But as you can see, the daily candle still remained above it, above this 38.82 zone. Today we did see another test of this area, and the price continues to balance above it, above this hurdle. Now, of course, if you understand what I'm leading to here, then basically we need to see a nice good violation of that area, ideally a nice daily close below this hurdle right here, in order to consider further declines. And at the moment, I mean, looking at this picture overall, I mean, you can see that yes, we are still below all of its EMAs here on the daily chart. So in a way, if we do see a drop below this area, below this 38.82, then yep, lower levels here could be met. But again, let's keep an eye on this one for now. We're cautiously bearish, I would say, but like I said, we're waiting for that confirmation break. For the upside, I would need to see at least a pushback above the 41.41 level right here in order to consider some higher levels. Silver is drifting nicely to the downside. Of course, it every buyer is waiting for that nice opportunity to step in, but at the moment probably I would say it's the wrong moment to step in, because at the moment, I mean, after breaking this upside line and dropping below this support zone near the 24 territory, yes, it's now getting a hold up near the 100-day EMA, but if that fails to provide a decent support, then yep, a further decline here and a drop below the 22.81 territory, 89 territory, sorry, could do the trick for more sellers. We could then target the 21.66 territory marked by the lowest point of September, or this 200-day EMA, shown as the black line. So for now, guys, everything's kind of leaning more towards the upside, with the towards the downside, sorry. With the upside, I would need to see a push above the 25.24 territory, so basically a bit of a conservative approach here, and then I would consider some higher levels. At the moment, it's just not working here for the buyers. Bitcoin, so everything's kind of working out nicely here. So I talked about this crypto yesterday, and basically was saying that if it gets a hold up here, a good hold up near this highest point of 2019, which it did, this crypto might reverse, go back down here for a bit of a correction. And of course, the strengthening dollar also kind of worked in favor here for the sellers of Bitcoin. And yep, we saw this one drifting lower. And look at this beautiful test of this 13,174 territory, which is the highest point of July 2019. So, or let me just actually double check that very quickly. Yes, that's correct. The highest point of July of 2019. This area acted now as a good support zone. So let's see if it can continue holding here, because if it can, then yep, we could see another rebound here and a nice push higher. So for now, this is the idea that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. If it drops below this area, all this zone right here up until this highlighted zone, highlighted area is going to be a little bit of a neutral one for me, because for me to consider maybe larger extensions to the downside, I would prefer to wait for a drop below the 12,400 zone, somewhere around here, because at the same time the price could be placed below the 100-day EMA. So again, it's quite interesting right now, guys. Could be quite interesting for the buyers, but if it drops a little bit lower, then could start being attractive more for the sellers. So yep, keep your eyes for now on this highest point of July of 2019 near the 13,174 territory. So jumping into a few pairs, JPY. Yesterday I mentioned this one, and basically the pair did drift lower below this key support zone at 73.97. Yes, we remained below this area as well. Today we're seeing a bit of a correction. However, let's see if this area here is going to act as a good, nice resistance barrier. If it does, then, well, guess what? We could see a nice curved up move here to the downside. So basically something like this here could be possible. So this is the idea that I'm going to stick to for now. If you want to be a little bit more on the safer side, you could keep an eye on today's low, for example, the current low of today near the 73.48 zone. A nice good drop below it may yep, open the door towards that next potential target at 72.53, which is marked by the low of the 12th of June. And then we'll take it from there. In terms of the upside, well, pretty straightforward. Basically now I would like to see a break of this downside line here, or maybe a nice push back above this 200-day EMA if you are looking for some movement in here up until this downside line. So a nice good push back above the 200-day EMA might attract a few more buyers into the game, and yep, we could see this one climbing towards that downside line again. But again, for now, it's a little bit more on the bearish side, especially if it continues to trade below this this highlighted area right here, which is roughly around the 73.97 zone, or in a way you could round it up towards the 74 territory. So if it remains below that 74 territory, then yes, we could see another potential slide. USD CAD. So just fractionally didn't reach this hurdle, the 1.3340 that I kept talking about, and yep, it just and then drifted back down. Today we're seeing a bit of a correction. However, again, with some other instruments here that I've mentioned, we're looking for maybe a bit of a correction here, corrective move, and if it stays above this 1.3240 zone, a nice push higher could be possible again. If you're more on the cautious side, we could wait for a push above this barrier right here, the 1.3340 zone, in order to get a little bit more excited with the upside. So again, at the moment it is correcting lower, but this is exactly what I'm going to consider it as a correction. However, if it starts falling below this hurdle, below the 1.3240 zone, and drops below the 21-day EMA, and then also maybe falls below yesterday's low near the 1.3180, now maybe this is where it could turn out a little bit more ugly for the buyers. So keep your eyes on that one. GBP USD. So it's a mess. I would say it's a mess because it's initially yesterday drifted nicely below this 1.30 territory. It stayed below it. However, it remained above the 21-day EMA, and this kind of was enough for the bulls to step in this morning and try to push this one higher. They succeeded in bringing the rate back above the 1.30 zone, that psychological 1.30 zone, but of course the day has just started here in Europe, and later on, we'll when the US opens, we'll see how this is going to perform, because yeah, we have a full day in front of us. So maybe this is just an initial kind of that little correction, that little rebound, and then yep, it might resume its slide again later. So again, keep your eyes on DXY as well, on the dollar index, because if that rallies, then well, guess what's gonna happen here with GBP USD is gonna nicely fall to the downside. So for now, what I'm gonna keep an eye on here is this 21-day EMA, because as you can see, so far in the past 2 days, it's kind of acting as a good area. Not the past 2 days, but today and yesterday, it is kind of acting as a nice area of support. So a nice good drop below it may open the door towards further declines. GBP Aussie, quick update here. Yesterday, if you remember, I talked about this one. The pair was balancing near this upside line, and what I was saying that if you want to aim for some higher levels, wait at least for a pop above the 1.8330 zone, and exactly that happened. So that's great news for the buyers. However, the bad news for the buyers is the fact that this 200-day EMA continues to provide decent resistance so far, of course. Now, given that we are seeing a bit of a correction here to the downside, keep your eyes on this 200-day EMA, because we get a nice pop above it, then maybe this could open the door towards higher levels, and maybe we could even overcome the current highest point of October near the 1.8527 zone, and then we could start looking at some higher levels. But at the moment, let's keep it like this. If we do get a nice push today above the this 200-day EMA, I'll pick up on this later in my trader's tea time, or maybe tomorrow in my morning video. So we'll see how all this is kind of playing around here. In terms of the downside, now previously I talked about this 1.8180 zone. However, I'm going to shift my level here a little bit here towards the low of yesterday, near the 1.8217 mark, so approximately around there. And basically, if we see a drop below this level, that means, well, first of all, of course, that means that we broke this upside line, and we also fell below all of the EMAs. So maybe some sellers could see this as some more sellers could see this as a good opportunity to step in and drive this one further south here, and then yeah, we'll take it from there. But at the moment, we're leaning a little bit more to the upside. I'm keeping an eye on this 200-day EMA. If we get a nice push above it, then I'll start looking at the current highest point of October near the 1.8527. But if that gets broken, a forthcoming higher high is confirmed, and then yep, the sky's the limit for this one. So or I would say maybe these levels in May are could be the limit. So yeah, let's keep an eye on that one. Quick update on one of my favorite pairs right now, the euro against the Turkish lira. I mean, I hope, guys, if you have followed my videos, I mean, recently, I mean, I kept talking about this not to short Euro TRY right now, because again, it's just a one-way traffic, and it seems like that the further we go, the more realistic the psychological 10 level could become. So yeah, at the moment, as like I said, we're waiting for this one to maybe give some sort of a signal, of a reversal signal, but at the moment it's just not happening. So yeah, guys, stay careful here. And even with, let's say, if you want to jump in right now on going long here, I mean, yes, it could be a possibility. However, have a tight stop loss, because if this somehow reverses, and or should I say gives us a reversal signal, then maybe this could be a sharp one here, a sharp fall straight away. So that's why just try to protect yourself. So if you get stopped out with a small loss, that's fine. I mean, because like I said, don't be too harsh on yourselves then, because it's a very tricky pair right now to be in. And also you could keep an eye on yesterday's high here near the 9.7740 zone. A nice good pop above it would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and yep, higher levels could be met. At the moment, you can see that today, for example, this is where the pair stalled, so maybe that's could be a nice area to watch. So if you're looking for some more upside, but again, in that case, still, like I said, be very careful. What could happen with a potential reversal here, and we've seen that happening many times here. For example, like I'll give you a good example, like for example here, back in May here, and where the pair continued to travel higher. Yes, it popped above previous high here, made a nice high, and then reversed at the same day. So that's why to have a stop loss, guys, it's very important, because again, if suddenly, yes, it goes in your way, what you could have done here, for example, in this scenario on the 6th and 7th of May here, so on the 7th of May, sorry, so a nice good pop above this high of the 6th of May. Yes, a nice good move higher. Once you're in profit, quickly put your stop loss in front, just on a break even, just in case. Like I said, if it reverses sharply, if it stops you out on zero, that's fine. I mean, don't get too mad at yourself, but at least you've avoided such a drop here, a heavy drop to the downside. So similar story here, guys. I mean, what you could do is look at this level, this yesterday's high. A nice good pop above it may open the door towards higher levels, and then yep, if you're in profit, then quickly the stop loss above this area, and then if suddenly it reverses, yep, you're safe. But again, you know yourself better, guys. You know the what's working for you better, so you be the judge of your own account. So yeah, guys, but the most important here is have your stop loss in place. So yep, that's very important. And finally, EURUSD. So almost managed to reach this 1.1696 territory. Of course, the main event to keep an eye on today, guys, is the ECB, the interest rate decision. I mean, no expectations of a change in the interest rate. Kind of is, or should I say, not the expectation, but there are no expectations for a change in the interest rate, I would say, like this, at the moment. However, the language of the committee, and that's what's going to be quite interesting to see, and if they're going to be concerned about the kind of rapidly increasing coronavirus cases, and maybe further stimulus would be required. And yeah, watch out on that one. If so, then well, this could apply pressure on the euro, and maybe we could see this one drifting further south, this euro-USD pair drifting further south, and yep, lower levels could be met. So guys, for now, the same idea remains as previously, so keep your eyes on the 1.1696 level, and I'll have to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I really appreciate you joining in, so have a wonderful trading day, guys.